The Bloody Podcassacre with Zac Walters and Kennedy Catherine. And we're back, much like Michael Myers.
That was good.
Thank you.
That was really good.
I didn't even plan it.
Wow. Happy post-Halloween, everybody, but we're still on the Halloween train.
Once again, Halloween in our hearts every day.
How was your Halloween?
I don't know yet. Halloween. It kills.
And evil dies tonight. I saw online somebody posted about this movie that you should drink every time you hear 40 years ago, it dies tonight or evil dies tonight, and you will be sloshed.
Drink every time?
Yes.
I was looking at you, my ears were open, and still.
And you were just smiling at me, and I was like,
I didn't quite get what you were saying. Yeah. Oh no. I read something that said they said it the way I said 17 times in that sentence. Something like 16 times in the first 14 minutes.
Well, because then they had the whole chant.
Yes.
Eventually of everybody chanting it, and it's just like, let's wrap
it up.
Evil dies tonight. Not right away. A bunch of us got to die first, but evil dies later. And then evil's mildly inconvenienced tonight.
Evil doesn't even end up dying tonight.
No, not at all.
I just want to get into it. I want to explain some things. I want to talk.
Sorry, I just remembered something.
I want you to tell me.
So, before Kennedy and I went and saw this movie together in the theater, and this was the first time that we saw one in the theaters together. It was great. I wrote down some notes prior to going into the movie that I had to assess once we sat. I am interested to see where Kennedy picked seats. I think it tells a lot about a person to me. If it's in the front section, absolutely not.
No.
The back half is better. Prime is 3 rows from the back. Unless you are in 100 capacity or less theater, then it's absolute the back row.
Yeah.
And I think that you picked a good spot.
I did, and our heights were fine. But
Yes.
if any of us had been a little bit shorter, aka me, there was a bar right in front of us that did cut across the half of the screen for me. And that was silly on my part.
But it was okay.
It was okay.
Because there was not a lot to miss.
You are correct.
I like the back half of the theater because I also watched a video once that the sound is best suited for a film in the back middle is where they kind of is their target. If you're going for an audio experience, because it's going to be I don't know, a music movie or there's the soundtrack or anything like that, sit there.
That's a hot tip. What did we eat? I had popcorn.
We got combo number 2.
Yeah.
Each.
I had popcorn, almond M&Ms, and Sprite.
And I had popcorn with real butter layered. And I also had white cheddar. No, I had sour cream and chives.
Yes, you did.
Because I had white cheddar later that night because I went to a second movie.
Of course you did.
And it was not as good as the sour cream and chive. And then I had peanut M&Ms and Sprite. Sprite is my go-to. I don't drink dark colas ever. Do you ever put your peanuts
into my popcorn?
Yes. But I was saying that and I was like, you got almonds.
And no, I don't really like it. If I'm eating popcorn at home, sometimes if I'm feeling spicy, I'll add an aged cheese, a little Asiago or a Parmesan.
That is so fancy.
It's pretty fancy.
Do you put some paprika to even it out?
No, but that is a great idea.
Yeah, you have to have the sharp cheese, but then a little bit of spice because then you have the salt.
Here's the thing. I like things disgustingly salty.
That's fine.
So I don't know. I don't need to cut the sharpness or the salt on anything ever.
But just to add, I think, a little kick.
A little dimension, if you will.
I know a lot of people who put just sriracha on their popcorn.
That seems gross to me. No, I like sriracha, but no thank you.
What was the other thing I was thinking of? Not chili powder.
I'm sure people do that.
For me, when I put M&Ms into my popcorn, it's when I'm not using seasoning for one, and I do it in the last half of the popcorn bag.
Yeah, so that you can shake it all up, move it all about.
Because I'm not about to shake that full bag of popcorn all over my body.
And also then they're all just going to fall to the bottom.
Yeah, I have to wait for half a bag, and I do like when they're melted because the coating doesn't break. It's just the inside, and I'm And I love this salty and sweet combo, and that's the only one.
I love that.
Only salty sweet combo I like.
This is good snack strategy corner.
Because I'm not a fan of Chicago mixed popcorn.
Me neither. It can absolutely take a long walk off a short cliff. I hate it so much.
This is my heart is growing listening to this conversation right now.
No, I absolutely cannot have it.
I used to love caramel popcorn. I just can't do it anymore.
If someone puts a Chicago mix on the table, I will pick
Eat
the
the cheese.
cheddar. Do we want to get married?
Maybe. But this isn't good for our friendship because then who's going to eat the caramel?
I don't have a huge stomach for popcorn, so like I can leave at least half.
Okay. Good to know.
Compromise?
Great. I am sold.
Great. I'm going to do my own little synopsis here. Halloween takes place directly after the 2018 iteration of Halloween, where Michael has escaped the psychiatric hospital, found Laurie, and wreaked absolute havoc. Where we left off in that movie, Michael has stabbed Laurie and killed her son-in-law, but Laurie, with the help of her daughter and granddaughter, was able to trap Michael in a safe room that she built in her basement.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
What is he doing?
Charlie. As the movie ended, Laurie had set the house ablaze with Michael inside. Now we pick up moments later and Halloween kills. Laurie is being driven to the hospital with her daughter and granddaughter as the police and fire trucks rush past, while Laurie screams, "Let it burn." Cut to a local Haddonfield bar where we see some not so familiar anymore faces. It's Halloween night, and on the small stage telling the story of what happened 40 years ago is Tommy Doyle, the young boy Laurie was babysitting when Michael first attacked her in 1978. In the crowd are fellow survivors, Marion Chambers, who is Dr. Loomis's assistant, a grown-up Lindsay Wallace, who Laurie had also been babysitting that night, and Lonnie, who encountered Michael as a young boy in the street all those years ago. As the group is enjoying their evening, an emergency report is broadcast. Michael has escaped and begun working his way through the neighborhood, killing as he goes. What ensues is a long marathon of slayings and a town-wide manhunt. By the end, most everyone is killed. The town is able to corner Michael, but his strength prevails and he takes out the large group of people. Eventually, he winds up back at his house where, through a series of events, Laurie's daughter is stood looking out a window. The movie ends as Michael appears behind her and stabs her. Surviving by the end of the film is Michael, Laurie, and Laurie's granddaughter. To be clear, not the entire town is killed, but most of the characters are, and so are most of the OG survivors, except Laurie and then presumably Lindsay, who just kind of disappears from the movie at some point. Could we have done a more thorough breakdown? Yes. Truly, it would not have been worth it. This movie was just a lot of killing. And it really, I would say that the number one complaint in reviews is that it really doesn't do much to drive the narrative forward.
No. It really is just a filler movie when you think about it, between the first and this presumable last Halloween movie.
Yeah.
I was really hoping that it would be a little bit more, because like I enjoyed watching it. We had a fun time.
Oh, for sure. It was a fun watch.
But like I was like hoping Laurie was going to be in it more. She was very like background character, which was like kind of shocking to me, considering it was like her big revival in like the 2018 version, and then also being the central character through the whole series. I was just kind of shocked that she like was just laying in a bed the whole time injured.
Yeah, I read this review that I really liked. It was called from Vulture, and it was called "Halloween Kills is Embarrassing and Exhausting." One of the points that they made that I agreed with was, through all of this, Jamie Lee Curtis's Laurie is largely absent or confined to a hospital room. It's shocking given that this is a problem in 1981's Halloween 2, which largely leaves Laurie alone to follow a series of interesting murders of uninteresting people. This is exactly what we largely get here, as some of the kills are shockingly gruesome for a mainstream horror film. But in essence, we don't really care about what is happening, because these are not people we know.
No. Like you do get to know like these like one-note victims, and that's kind of it, because they're all gone.
Yes.
I found myself probably like 3/4 of the way through. I think you felt this too. We were like,
wrap it up.
like literally we were like, what else could there possibly be that like is going to do anything for us in this movie? It probably didn't need to be a trilogy. But also another thing, sorry, going back to Laurie, is this is still taking place in one night.
Yes.
Is one thing to note. So if she was like stabbed and went into surgery, she isn't expected to be fully recovered within the hour.
And she wasn't.
No. She did take some drugs to...
Right into the vein, on her own.
For what? Nothing. She went back into bed 20 minutes later. But also, like, so there was a very high body count in this movie.
Yeah, what was the body count?
I would say, like, upwards of 20, 25.
I guess when you take into account the end, he slaughters just basically everyone.
Well, and there's a whole team of firefighters, which probably, like, 8.
Probably.
Yeah, then there's that whole team at the end of one brain cell Haddonfield townsfolk. The weird thing is, like, in this movie, I felt like the characters were written so dumb that it was like you wanted Michael to be the protagonist, which
That's
is
a
so
good
strange. The whole time you're following like this guy, Tommy, I think his name was.
Yeah.
Is he the one who grabbed the bat?
Yes.
Yeah, so you're following Tommy, who like decides to go to an open mic night to tell the story of like his friends who were like almost slaughtered, and everyone's like sobbing pretty much in the audience. They're like, wow,
They're like, wow, this is so moving.
And then he's like rallying the troops, and he's like going hard just in the town. And you're like, what?
This was, once again, I have 3 paragraphs from this review that I read because I really thought it made some great points. One of the notes that it made. So one of the plot points that I didn't include in my breakdown, in the movie, there is simultaneously another man who's escaped from the psychiatric center, who is just a man who presumably has some sort of cognitive disabilities. Mm-hmm. And the town, they all get locked down into the hospital when it's like revealed that Michael is at large. And
after that, he's presumed to be dead.
No, this is when they think he's coming to the hospital.
Oh, but they thought he was dead. Sorry, Lori thought he was dead. That's what I mean.
Yes. But the rest of the town, a bunch of them are at the hospital. They get locked down in the hospital, and this other man is in the hospital. And they go on like this ridiculous like manhunt for this guy in the hospital. And ultimately what happens is Lori's daughter, Karen, tries to sort of protect him by quarantining him in this one space, and then all the townspeople come and they're like ready to break the doors down, so this guy jumps out a window and dies by suicide. I was a little confused by what the message was supposed to be outside of mob mentality, but I didn't really understand why that related to the story, and this review hit on that in a good way. There's no nuance, as Tommy's organizing efforts soon create a violent mob, just some awkward haranguing about how all human beings are monsters. The film also seems ideologically confused about vigilante and mob justice, as it waffles between showing this as necessary, evil, effective, and foolish throughout its runtime. It also gives us the film's second mantra, "Evil dies tonight," which literally becomes a mantra as the mob chants on their hunt for Michael. And that's how I felt, is it was just like, the movie didn't really seem to have like a consistent message around what that was.
Well, and like back to like Michael being the protagonist, it's like there's this like blurred line where you're like, yeah, Michael's doing all these bad things, but you're also just like being equally as bad. Like, why are you all crowding around a hospital? Like, I get that they're trying to like stop this villain doing villainous things, but at the same time, it's like literally go home.
Right.
You do not have to be a part of this at all.
Everybody's got to be a hero.
And we don't need that. One thing regarding, his name was Tivoli, the patient's name.
Yes.
Fun fact.
Yes.
So he was played by Ross Bacon, and he was uncredited in the 2018 version, but this was his last movie because he passed away. Isn't that so sad?
Oh, that is so sad.
And it also makes me kind of like, did you have to put his dead body in there, considering he passed away before the film was released?
I mean, that's kind of a...
That goes for a lot of movies because
Yeah.
he's not the first and he's not the only one. And I don't know how he passed away. Maybe it could be anything. But like people who like, oh, also I'm sure that the family members aren't going to go watch Halloween Kills as their last goodbye to him.
I'm sorry. I'm laughing at your physical movement there, the way you kind of kissed this guy on that one. Yeah, I
Just
get
some
what
food
you're
for
saying.
thought.
It's for sure not something I had thought about or would have immediately thought about. But like when you put it in that way, it's like, yeah, that does seem like a bit of a weird, blurry moral line.
Because we see him jumping, but we don't have to see him landed. Because it gets close and personal in that.
I mean, it's not the same thing, but it kind of reminds me about the controversy around Heather O'Rourke, who played Carol Ann in Poltergeist, and how they released Poltergeist 3 after she had died making that movie. But that's such a different circumstance. She was the main star. She died while making the movie, and they had to like find ways to work around that and then still released it, and that seemed very weird. This guy was like a not to reduce him, but it was very much like a side character, and his character's main sort of purpose was that he did die this violent death. It's really unfortunate timing that he died before the release of the movie, though.
Yeah. Sorry to bring that down 3 steps.
Thanks. Love that. You also said there was some controversy about firemen. Do you want to tell me about that now?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Currently, I saw this on Twitter originally, and I thought it was way bigger. And maybe it's just because Twitter took a hold of it, and that's why I saw it.
Twitter loves to blow everything out of proportion.
Just because like the numbers after don't align with what I thought I saw on Twitter. There's currently a petition on change.org, which somebody has started because they want the firefighter scene where the firefighters go to put out the house fire where Michael currently is burning, and they all get like killed by Michael because he is a villain. And so somebody wants the scene of the new Halloween Kills movie to be removed from the slaughtering of firefighters because it is wrong, because firefighters have been lured to house fires and murdered by the person who set the fire, which is incorrect. And it is wrong that Michael killed the firefighters with the gear from the other firefighters that he killed.
Buddy, if we did this with everything, no movie ever would exist.
As a soon-to-be firefighter, I find it offensive, and so does my mom and dad, who are also retired firefighters. That scene should be taken out of the movie. Michael didn't have to kill them in a way that they saved him, so he should have saved the 2 firefighters in the house and went on his way to kill his sister. There's no reason for the horrible, disgusting scene.
This sounds like a satire. I'm not joking. This doesn't sound real.
Right. So it currently only has 447 out of 500 signatures that it needs to get to like the promoted side of change.org. So you like have to search for it. It's not something that is on the homepage.
Also, how many petitions have you signed on change.org where anything came from it?
0.
Exactly.
And I have signed a few.
Me too.
I don't think anything ever happens to them.
Apparently, I've read some conspiracy theories that change.org is just like a data farming operation.
So, I believe it.
So true, bestie.
But also somebody commented that there's going to be a lot more than a few firefighters getting killed in Halloween Kills. You're going into a town of Haddonfield, hypothetically, where there's a man named Michael who's on a rampage. There's also mobs forming, as we just talked, where they're hunting down people, which that's the same thing.
And a cop gets killed and a teenager gets killed. And like, I'm sure, I've seen plenty movies where like suspicious shit happens with writers because they're always the weird, like mysterious character in a movie. And you know what I've never done? Written a petition because I think that it's disrespectful to writers.
Amen. My favorite quote was, when the villain did villainous things, that's when it went too far.
When Michael did exactly what we assumed he would do.
For the past 10 plus movies.
That's when it was too much.
Too far. Too far. Flames? No.
Whoa. That genuinely sounds like a satire.
Right? It's just like, come on.
How much self-importance can you have that you believe that art created should in no way reflect fictional depictions of what might happen to a person that has the same job title as you?
I know, snaps.
Thank you.
Snaps all around. I want to dive into this.
Okay.
We haven't done this in a while.
All right.
And I was on a little road trip back from our good old Canadian Thanksgiving from visiting my parents. And I decided to listen to the first episode of our podcast.
Oh, it's so nostalgic.
It is. And it's only not even a year old. We never really talk about like our favorite scenes in depth anymore.
There are a lot of things that we did in the first episode that I would love if we could circle back to, but that was because we both knew that movie so deeply.
Yes.
And now I just like don't think we can do it in the same way. My favorite scene, I really liked the sort of reveal of the original people. So when we saw Kyle Richards as Lindsay and then like the original Marion was there, I like the nostalgic feeling of what... I don't know if you have this experience, but do you ever like drive somewhere or you see something and it sort of like teleports you back to a time when you were a kid?
Yeah.
And you have this feeling of like, that sight made me feel how I want to feel on Halloween.
Yes.
That's how I felt about watching that scene in like that local small bar with those people dressed up, just like having a nice time, having a beer. I was like, this is like the nostalgic feeling that I want this season. That was one of my favorites. There was also some really, really, really great death scenes.
Yes.
And I thought that the characters, the 2 gay characters,
Big John and Little John, were really great. Like those were some really fleshed out characters. They had a really good presence, and I liked anything that happened in their house, which was Michael's original house. Yes.
Loved.
My favorite deaths were... There was the scene randomly where they threw it out and like, or they introduced these 2 characters and you were like, who are they? They probably had some significance and I have no idea who they were, but they were playing with that drone in the house. They were that elderly couple.
It was just supposed to be Laurie's neighbors.
Okay. Yes. Their deaths were so good because it was like, Michael was just at this point rampaging through everybody's house trying to find Laurie because he didn't know where she went. Even though like the first place you'd think to look is the hospital.
Right.
So he goes into like the neighbor's house and they're playing with this little drone. It seems like it's Christmas. It is not. I don't remember how he died.
So
no, he died by the knives in the back on the kitchen counter.
Well, like I thought it was really cool. Like the husband's playing with the drone and he flies it around this dark corner, and then the drone gets thrown back at them.
Right, and it's broken.
And that's how they realize that Michael's in the house. Mm-hmm. And then he's kind of, I don't really remember what it was. If it was like a set of French doors or just like a wall that had windows.
Right, yes.
But Michael like punches through like a pane of glass and pulls the guy kind of like
on top of the pane of glass. Yes. And then the wife runs back around that way after Michael goes into the house, and he grabs the fluorescent light bulb, one of those long ones, smashes it, stabs her in the neck. Mm-hmm. And then she falls to the ground, and then Michael stabs her husband like 7 times with 7 different knives until he finds like the right one he wants.
Right.
And then he leaves. Mm-hmm. So that was like my favorite like death scene. But I think my favorite scene overall in like terms of like composition and how it played out and like the characters, Lindsay and the doctor and nurse, and I can't remember who the 4th person were. They all split up from the bar, and then they were going to find Michael, and they run into him at that park.
Yeah, so it was Mary and Dr. Loomis's assistant.
Right. That's who it was. I really liked how that scene was done because it was like you had 4 characters who were also kind of like splitting ways and not sure knowing what to do.
Right.
And then also Michael does appear because we don't know if he's going to show up or not. And I really liked how like that played out and like that those characters were all dead other than Kyle Richards because she just walked it off.
Yeah.
But like I like that we like went into the park and we had those kids who were like being bad to Big John and Little John, and then it sounds like I'm just like talking about nothing because I'm like trying to explain it, but I'm like Big John and Little John. I'm like, if you haven't seen it, you have no idea who I'm talking about.
Which is the case for every episode.
True. But yeah, I really liked how it played out. I liked the deaths in that. I liked that Kyle Richards was down by the bayou. It was great.
Oh, I have like so many things I want to build on that.
Yes.
But I was just gonna say, should we
open the case?
What?
I thought Kyle Richards was Casey Musgraves.
I was gonna say, do we want to order our subs right now? I was gonna say, do we want to order dinner right now? So it's like here in like half an hour.
We can do both.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, well, opening that case, Casey Musgraves, Zach turns to me at one point, like it's like a ways into the movie too, and he goes, "Is that Casey Musgraves?" I was like, "That is Kyle Richards, who is 20 years older than Casey Musgraves, and also a Real Housewives of Beverly Hills," which I will shamefully admit to watching here and there. Okay, couple things. So we see like the pretty violent death of Marion, which is Dr. Loomis's assistant. Mm-hmm. And then we also have the death of Tommy eventually in the end. So Kyle and then the woman who played the assistant, Marion, they both reprised their roles. So that was very cool. The guy who played Tommy was not the boy who played Tommy because that guy is no longer acting. He was literally a small child. They're all dead in the end besides Lindsay, like we said. And some part of me, even though it's like these are slasher movies and this is what they're made for, was like kind of disappointed that they brought these people back to like kind of honor the original story just to like pretty callously like throw them away. I don't know. That's not probably a fair complaint, but I always have feelings about like the sort of needless deaths that happen in slasher films of people that you've like kind of grown to know and love.
But that's also like every Shonda Rhimes show. She
wrote Grey's Anatomy?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That's like literally what I was thinking of. Like, yes, we get to love these characters or like know them for like a extended period of time, and then they're just like wiped off the face of the earth.
Yeah, that was Sons of Anarchy and Game of Thrones too, I guess.
Yeah, that's a lot of shows actually when we really think about it.
The other thing I was going to say is I actually really liked when the movie first started and they first kind of showed us that they were going to start doing the flashbacks.
Yes.
So they did like sort of like a retelling of the night of 1978 through these flashbacks with sort of new characters, which some people were complaining about. They're like, oh, you're just going to do like a recon of that night. I thought it was cool.
I thought it was really well done. And like the characters, like you could tell like, oh, that's at one point we were like, who is that supposed to be?
Right.
But like majority of them, we were like, oh, that's supposed to be this. And then Jim Cummings of all people was in that movie. I don't know if you know who that is. He's like an indie film director. He was in a couple other like movies here and there, but I was like, Jim Cummings. And then in real time, the granddaughter's boyfriend.
Yes.
I was like, why does he seem so familiar? It's because he was in You season 3, which I binged the night before.
Oh.
And I couldn't just not put 2 and 2 together.
And Big John? One of the Johns was Michael McDonald, who plays Stuart on Mad TV. No? Okay.
No, I don't know that reference. I'm so sorry. One thing I want to get into and kind of pick your brain at, because I saw this theory on Reddit of what do you think is going to happen in the next movie, Halloween Ends.
It's going to be a huge showdown between Michael and Laurie. Some part of me thinks that maybe they just both die together.
True. That would actually be kind of, I think, a good full circle moment.
Yeah.
One person posted here, and I didn't copy their username, which I am sorry. It says, does anybody else get the vibe from the granddaughter's apparent fascination with picking up Michael's bloody knives that she'll end up killing in the next one? Sort of like how Jamie got possessed in the end of Halloween 4. They keep mentioning Michael's evil transcending. Over the night of October 31st, 2018, she had lost her father to Michael, then watched her boyfriend be killed by Michael. And I don't want to imagine when she'll learn that Michael killed her mother too, because she did die at the end. And how many other residents that she might have known killed by him, that she's either going to snap and become a killer or be consumed by wanting revenge.
I think if anything, she would want revenge. She would want to kill Michael. If that character took an arc where all of a sudden she was killing other people, I would say that seems completely out of nowhere to me.
Right. But I do think that it could be a cool twist.
It could be.
If they did it very well and laid out the brickwork for it to be make sense.
But if they tried to use that as a way to lengthen this series by 3 more movies, I would say give it the fuck up already.
Me too.
That's what makes these movies so hard, is because at some point you stop taking something like this seriously when there has been so many. And that's kind of how I felt about this movie. Maybe there's diehards, or maybe there's even passive fans who are like, oh, great, another one. I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, you're just dishonoring the story.
Yeah, I'm like, we've pushed past a point that I'm interested in what any of the characters do.
Yeah.
What they say, how this plays out. It kind of is like how I felt at Game of Thrones towards, I was just
100%.
I don't care what's going to happen, even though I feel like I should. Here's my fun facts that I find about the movie.
That I found
online that somebody else had written out. In my favorite scene, the masks that the 3 corpses are wearing in the merry-go-round are the silver shamrock masks from Halloween 3 Season of the Witch.
Oh.
Which I have never seen, but we talked about last time how it has no correlation. Yep. But now it does.
Fun callback.
And that it's the only separate continuity that follows Michael Myers now in that movie. In the opening sequence where they're showing the titles and the Halloween pumpkins and all that, there's 12 pumpkins that are shown in the title sequence. And the last one indicates Halloween Kills, as it is the 12th movie in the franchise.
Oh, okay.
Fun.
Yeah.
So Halloween 2018 was released 40 years after Halloween. Halloween Kills was released 40 years after Halloween 2. And Halloween Ends is going to be released 40 years after Season of the Witch.
Maybe that's why, in 1,000 different ways, 1,000 different times in this movie, they said 40 years ago.
Drink.
God, we got it.
Yeah, 40 years ago, Evil Dies Tonight.
Yeah. I'd be Scream episode level drunk.
Ooh, more. The last thing I want to mention is they did, I don't know if you saw any of the photos, but they had the film premiere on the black carpet.
And Jamie Lee Curtis.
And Jamie Lee Curtis dressed up as her mother, Janet Leigh, from Psycho, in her little blue dress with her little bloody shower curtain. And I thought that was really cute.
I fell down a rabbit hole the other day of looking at pictures of the two of them, because I feel like mother-daughter Hollywood duos are always questionable at best, particularly from that time period. Because not to stereotype, but a lot of those women at that time were just pilled out, having a horrible time. And it sounds like they had a really great relationship.
And did you know that they acted together in one of the Halloween movies briefly?
No.
Yeah, there was a scene. I think it was H2O.
Also, Jamie Lee Curtis's daughter came out as transgender, and she...
Yes, I did see that this morning.
She made a lot of very lovely statements.
Other people that dressed up, Jason Blum dressed up as OG Jamie Lee Curtis from Halloween.
That's so fun.
Judy Greer was Diane Keaton from Annie Hall.
Oh.
David Gordon Green was the old school movie theater ticket man dressed in the yellow and red suit detailing.
Cute.
Jamie Lee was her mom. Kyle Richards, Kathy Hilton, yes.
Paris Hilton's mom.
Yes, and 2 others. I don't remember who were there because I don't watch them. They were all dressed up.
Lisa Rinna was there.
Yes, she was like a pink bunny.
Yeah.
And then there was another one who I think looked like she was dressing up as Paris Hilton. But it was fun that they all like kind of like just did it.
Yeah.
I was like, you don't have to like dress up as like a red carpet, you know.
That was fun.
No, like they have to dress up as a red carpet. That's what I said.
Sorry.
No, sorry.
I was just going to say 2 takeaways from that. This is like the most subtle Jason Blum stan podcast.
True.
And Judy Greer, cast her in everything. Give that woman 1 starring role for the love of God.
They won't.
Supporting since 1991.
And you know what? Sometimes we need those people.
And I love Judy Greer. Like, seeing her in something is so comforting.
I'm agreeing with you. I don't think I know who Judy Greer is.
Are you serious? She's in everything. She also has looked the same for the last 20 years. Like, has not aged.
Good for her.
Good for her.
Do you know who else wore, like, their mother's dress recently? Angelina Jolie's daughter.
Yeah, from her Oscars, like 2018,
maybe?
Yeah, something like that.
I thought that was really nice, too.
Yeah, it was cute.
Anyways, that has nothing to do with this, and I have nothing else to say about this movie.
The only thing that I was going to say is I know that there's been some reviews about how this movie is not scary. And I was thinking about that because it wasn't. But also, I think that Halloween is just at a point where the scare factor is gone because Michael is so recognizable. We're so desensitized to him that he's not scary anymore. Mm-hmm. But does that have to be the point of the movie? I don't think so. It was still really fucking fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Although I do have to say, there was one point where you almost hit the fucking roof.
Oh my God, yes.
I don't remember what happened.
I don't either.
But all of a sudden you were like, gone. You were up. And I was like, oh my God.
I don't think it was scary. I think it was a loud noise.
Right.
It just spooked me.
And that spooked me because then I jumped because I was more scared that you were like maybe having some sort of body problem.
I don't want anybody listening to take that to mean that this movie is scary because I spook constantly and consistently.
Yes, very, very easily. And I can attest to that.
Should it be rated?
Yeah, they're all going to be pretty low for me.
Me too. Scary, it's not. It's a 0.
I put 2.
Oh, okay.
I just put for the gore aspect. There was some pretty gory moments that can be like...
unsettling.
Yeah, maybe that's where I would put the 2. Scary was 0.
Yeah, unsettling. Sure, 1, 2.
Yeah.
Great kills.
Yes,
Loved
very
them.
much so.
Story? No, it did
1.
nothing to like advance the plot forward.
Nothing other than the daughter has now died.
Quite honestly, like to people, like viewers of the original movies, irrelevant.
Yeah, true.
1.
Yeah.
But was it a paper cut or was it a bloody massacre?
I am more disappointed that we have to go to 1 more than anything on a scale of 10.
I 100% agree.
And like, we don't have to, but we also have to.
We're going to. Immediately. This movie has been all fucking over the place. Before it came out, like really for fan release, it was doing so well. Mm-hmm. And then it really tanked.
Well, it also was released on Peacock, like the new NBC streaming service, which I didn't know.
Yeah, I saw that today actually. It's not highly rated, no. But it did very well critically and not critically, sorry, at the box office.
Yeah, I did see that actually.
Yeah, made sick numbers.
Mm-hmm. Good for them.
Good for them.
But also not because you guys don't need money.
You guys didn't need the incentive to make another.
Know what I just want to quickly just throw in there?
Sure.
Activia. That's all.
Iconic.
Is she still doing them?
No.
She should be. That's all I have to say.
We gotta run because we're gonna eat and then we're gonna be guesting on a podcast, which will be out by the time this is released. We are guesting on a podcast called Saturdays for the Ghouls. I'm sure we will post about it.
You missed the word R.
Saturdays are for the ghouls. So sorry. We will be guesting on that. I believe it comes out the week of Halloween.
Yes, I don't know the exact date.
Me neither, but we'll post about it somewhere. You know where to find us. At Podcastacle on everything. Until next time.
Evil dies tonight.
Is that really?
Yeah, that's the tagline.
Go ahead.
No, we're cut.